Hi, I'm Bob Doman. I want to talk to you some more about what happened to that brilliant baby you had. All right. In a previous video, I was talking about there seems to be a decline in the processing skills and the thinking ability of the population. I would suggest that if you look at things historically in terms of what people knew, what people did, you'll see things are not going in a great direction. I remember listening to this PBS show, and they were reading letters that soldiers from the Civil War had sent home. And these letters, they would preempt them by saying, this was George so-and-so from Vermont, and George had a 4th grade education. And you listen to the letters George with a 4th grade education sent home, and they were brilliant. They were fantastic. You think this guy today had 2 PhDs, all right? And you look, you want another shocker, pull out go to your used bookstore or antique bookstore and find a reading book from the 1800s for a 5th grader. And you'll have a hard time finding a high school senior who's reading material on the level of that 5th grader in the 1800s. What in the world is that about? How is it possible that the planet has gone as far as it has in these past years, and we're losing our minds, if you will, all right? We're not anywhere near as smart as we were. I think a lot of this has to do with that thing I talked about, auditory processing. How much can you take in? You know what develops auditory processing? Listening, okay? Listening. And the biggest part of that listening is having someone speaking directly to you, one-on-one to you, and giving you lots of auditory input. Just in my lifetime, things have changed dramatically. I mean, when I was a kid, there wasn't TV. I can remember when we got our first TV, and there was about an hour and a half of programming that existed a day. All right. I remember when Disney came on TV. You know what? I can hear the Disney theme today and still get chills, all right? There was so little TV back then that it was, huge for us. But what happened back then, what existed back then, was people talked. Parents read to their children a lot. Families did very strange things. They did things like ate meals together, and they talked, all right? You listen to the radio where more people talked. And you know what was most important? Parents were talking with their kids a lot. A lot, a lot, a lot. It is taking in specific auditory input that fits you that develops that auditory processing. If we were to look at data today relative to how much our children are getting talked to versus how much time they're spending in front of TV and screens, it'd be scary data. All right, and one of the things that upsets me tremendously about what's happening is parents are appearing to be less and less and less engaged with their kids. Parents' perception is becoming more and more that it's the institutions, it is the schools that are responsible for our kids' education, our kids' development. Now, an important thing for every parent to understand is there virtually is nothing more important than talking to your child, one-on-one with your child. What happens when you do that? You're talking right to them. You talk to them about what they care about. You talk to them relative to what you know about them. You talk to them so they can process what you're saying. And their processing what you're saying is what builds their processing skills. One of the other issues that's gargantuan is this whole issue of preschool and daycare. We perceive today, you talk to parents today, their perception is if they're not sending their child to a preschool or daycare, they're not providing their child with an opportunity. If they keep their kid home, they're depriving them. That's brand new, all right? And it happens to correspond directly with the decline in education in the country. And what it means is our kids are not being given that opportunity to learn how to process information. You know, reading to your kids is fantastic. Reading to your kids is wonderful, but talking to your kids is much, much, much more important. That is what develops that primary important function of processing auditory information. That is the foundation of thinking, all right? It is the foundation. It takes in information that you can then hold together and manipulate. That is one of the huge pieces, and probably the most important piece that's going to get that child of yours back to that brilliant baby again, all right? Not so hard, all right? And we also have methodologies to help build that for your kids and for you. You know, you're not too old, all right? You know, we all have the potential to do better. We all have the ability to do better. We just need the opportunity to do better. Thanks.